How's it going, everybody? I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr., and this is my spoiler-free review of 2022's Scream, or Scream 5, for those of you that know what's up. So right off the bat, I just want to say that the two directors, Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillet, these two guys really seem to know what they're doing, and I'm really impressed by their work on this film. With their movie Ready or Not, they really showed that they have a good horror comedy sensibility. And it seems like that all of that was applied and transitioned over to the Scream franchise. And this being the fifth film, this could have really felt tired by now and just exhausted and derivative. And usually with all the meta stuff, for some people it might just feel that way, considering all these movies sort of lean in that direction. But to this movie's credit, a lot of that is sort of incorporated into the story. And it's done in a very clever way that I'm not going to get into for spoiler purposes, so I'll save that for a different video. The new cast, for the most part, is actually enjoyable, likable, and didn't find them annoying. And a lot of these films where they're transitioning from an old cast to a new one and introducing new characters with legacy characters and trying to pass on a torch, you know, there's a lot of people that go into a movie like this just sitting in the theater trying to get through the scenes of the newbies, because they just want to see, you know, the scenes with the OGs. And I understand that, you know, I mean, there's certain people everybody comes to see. We all want to see Sydney kick some ass. But the really cool thing is that the new cast holds the movie pretty well, almost all the way up until the end. And the OG cast being in this film, the way they're used, it's really cool because when they show up in the film, they kind of steal the show. And by the time you get to the finale, this movie is very much a blend of being a sequel to the first four films, but also a reboot, and at times can sort of feel like a remake. And the reasons for that I'm not going to get into because that's sort of spoilery. But yeah, the two directors definitely seem to know this franchise. You know, there's going to be some callbacks that are going to make all kinds of nerdy horror fans, you know, giddy and, you know, put a grin on your face. You know, the deaths are what you expect out of these movies. They don't try and reinvent the wheel because Ghostface is known for having, you know, that hunting knife. And, you know, I know that there are people out there that would love to see him pick up an axe or a machete or just any old household item to make it interesting. And, you know, I can sort of identify with that. You know, I wouldn't mind a little variety in my Carnage candy as well. But given the fact that in the mythology of these films, typically the killer or killers, and I'm talking about the previous films, not letting you know whether or not there was just one or two. I'm going to let you find that out for yourself as far as this new film goes. But typically in the old films, anyone who ever decides to put on the mask of Ghostface, they usually all tend to know the Ghostface origins when it comes to the first movie, which is probably why it's always the same old knife and the same old stabathon. So, you know, that being no different in this new film, I'm not going to fault the new film on pretty much just going along with that tradition. It's something that doesn't really hurt it in my eyes, considering the kills feel brutal. And, you know, every now and then there's a, you know, movie with too much CG blood. And I'm, you know, grateful that if there was any CG blood in this movie, it was used either sparingly or must have been mixed in with a couple of practical effects, because the kills in this movie, a couple of them gave me some Tom Savini vibes. And those of you that know horror films, you get that reference. You know, the guy behind the special effects of so many great movies, a lot of great zombie movies, you know, Dawn of the Dead and the Friday the 13th movies, the early ones especially. You know, Tom Savini was a master of special effects and practical work. And when I see a couple of scenes in a movie that came out in 2022 that are reminiscent of his kind of work, it gets my juices flowing. Big fan of that guy. So this is a must-see for Scream fans. And if you're a fan of slasher movies, I would call this one of the better slasher movies to come out of recent years. And I'm looking forward to do a Scream ranking now because it's going to be fun to see where this fits in the lineup of the 5 films. So, and another thing I'd like to point out, it was really cool as, a Latino to see a Mexican female as the lead final girl in a big franchise like this. Uh, you know, not to get too mushy or anything or sentimental, but that's kind of special to a lot of people like myself. So, I appreciate that kind of thing, and I thank the filmmakers for putting actors like Jenna Ortega, and Melissa Barrera. The two of them, they both did really good, and Jack Quaid was good. David Arquette is always great as Dewey, and they gave Dewey a different shade in this movie because he's the older grizzled Dewey, and he was still had his Dewey kind of little trademarks here and there, but he was getting kind of badass actually. The guy was the sheriff in the 4th one, so it stands to reason why they'd make him sort of the knight in shining armor type by now. And Courtney Cox is always good. She always brings it as Gale Weathers. No crazy bangs from part 3 this time around, so always good. And Neve Campbell. When I said that the OGs steal the show when they show up, especially Neve Campbell, by the time she shows up, even though I agree with that the new cast carries the film for the most of it. Yeah, when Neve shows up, it pretty much becomes her film, and that's what I mean, that this movie works as a sequel to the original 4, and because the new cast works so well, it definitely stands on its own as a reboot. And I enjoyed it enough to, well, by the time it was over, it didn't matter to me that they didn't put the 5 at the end of the title. And I'm actually curious to see where this is going to go. I'd like to see this become a new trilogy. They set up some good characters. We got kind of a new Randy type of character. There's always characters that sort of mirror certain other characters from previous movies so that fans can, acknowledge that, oh, it's a little wink and nod to the fans. And that this movie is just full of stuff like that. So Scream fans are in for a treat. And I think horror fans are as well. For torture porn fans and like real gore hounds, maybe not so much, because just might disappoint if that's all you're looking for. But yeah, all around, I'd have to give it 3 stars. Wasn't disappointed. Not perfect though. Of course, not many films are. A lot of films do have flaws, and even the best films do. And though I very much liked the movie, I gave it 3 stars because there were a couple of things that are holding it back, and those are the things that I would like to touch on in a spoiler video, which will be uploaded in a day from now. So yeah, thanks for hanging out for a little bit, and yeah, you guys should definitely go see this in the theater. And if not, you want to wait till it comes out on video, I understand. But as a theater experience, these movies are always a lot of fun, especially in a big dark room with, with a crowd. And, mask up, because, yeah, shit's all fucked up out there. Don't mean to get all preachy, but y'all know what's up. You guys ain't dumb. But yeah, Scream 5. Zang. Peace out, you guys. Thanks for hanging out for a little bit. Don't forget to, share, like, subscribe if you're all down for that sort of thing. If you're not, it's all good. Don't hold any grudges, and gonna go ahead and say goodbye because got shit to do. Gotta get ready for the next one. Peace out, everybody.